so step one when you're mixing anything, any kind of preparation in any kitchen, is always your mise en place. You can see I got my flour, my oil, my salt, my sugar, I got my water. That's all I really need for a New York pizza dough. So the first thing I always put in the mixer is gonna be the water. Now you really could throw everything in at one time. Let me grab the yeast I got measured out over here. You could throw everything at once, the oil, the salt, the sugar, the yeast, and come out with a great dough. But one thing you risk when you put the oil first, which I've seen a lot of people do, I've been told to do many times, is it can kind of make dry spots on the flour when just the oil hydrates the flour instead of actual water. It won't form gluten. That only happens when water and flour come together, not oil and flour. So you want the water and flour to come together, and then at the end of the mixing process, before you're even really in the kneading process, you will get the oil in. So this part's up to you. You can throw your salt, sugar, yeast in there. This is active dry yeast, so what I am going to do is I am going to just hydrate it. And I'm going to throw my salt and my sugar in there. We're doing 4 doughs, 4 New York pizza doughs. One of them is going to have no sugar at all. The other 3 will. And the difference between them is going to be 1% oil, 2% oil, and 3% oil. And we're actually using extra virgin olive oil for this. Is that correct? That's what was in that? Yeah. So you can use pomace oil, which we have too. Which is actually what I would recommend, but I just wanted to use the same kind of oil for all of it. So I got the yeast hydrated in there, and I'll add my sugar too with my yeast, and I'll add the salt once we start mixing. So the sugar is like food for the yeast. It should make it bubble up. Now I'm gonna just add all the flour. Go. And for the mixing stage, don't hop right into the hook. You can if you want to, but I recommend the paddle for incorporating ingredients. And I'm a big proponent of the slow speed for mixing, so I'm going to turn it to speed 1. And now, I'm going to add my salt in. Just throw all of it in there. Alright, so I'm going to stop it after I add my salt, and I'm just going to kind of help the mixer out by getting what's stuck to the bowl right now unstuck to the bowl, basically. And I still got my oil remaining, so back on slow speed. I'm gonna add my oil a lot slower than I add the salt. Not dangerously slow, but not a big flop of oil. So this is dough number 1, which means 1% oil. And that is, I just want it to come together. I'm going to let it rest while I do the other doughs. And I'm going to hand knead the rest. I'm going to hand knead it the rest of the way, or possibly throw the hook on at this point. So I got them all labeled already. I'm just going to pop it in there like that for now. And I'm going to let the gluten relax. So now I'm going to do dough number 2. I'm going to get rid of the mise en place for the last one. Put it right here for now, I guess. I got dough number 2. Water, oil, salt, sugar. flour. So the total recipe for all of these is 60% water, 2% salt, 3% sugar, and the first one was 1% oil. Dough number 2 is 2% oil. And I'm going to do the same thing like I did again. I got to grab the yeast again for my second dough. So I'm going to take the hook off real quick. Add my water once again. And my yeast. I'll just use the rubber spatula this time because I have it. Try to get it hydrated, somewhat at least. It will get hydrated in the act of the dough making process, so you don't need to obsess about this. But if you're precautious like me and don't want a problem with something as stupid as adding a yeast at the wrong time, I think something like this is a good idea. Alright, and then I'm going to add my sugar as well. Try to get that dissolved in there. At least somewhat. There we go. And all of the flour. And by the way, we're using Caputo Americana Super, which is a malted flour. It's very similar. It's a little bit higher in protein and a W rating than a lot of the American bread flours and high gluten. That's 15.25% protein, I believe, and it's about a W of 380 to 400, I think. So it's a really strong flour, suitable for long fermentations. Anyway, so I got my water, my sugar, my yeast, and my flour. But yeah, this can be done with like King Arthur bread flour, gold medal bread flour. Bread flours are usually closer to high gluten for things you can get in your grocery store. I'm gonna mix on speed 1, let it come together. Stop it. I'm going to fix it again. A lot of times this is a cheap $100 mixer, but even with Hogarth's and other stuff, don't expect your mixer to do everything for you. You do got to help somewhat scrape the sides and whatnot. So back to speed 1. Once again, I'm going to slowly add my oil. Also kind of helps you finish that incorporation phase, basically. So when your mixer spins like this, you're not really kneading anything, so sometimes you need to help it out again. Mistakes. Maybe you want to do a better job of pouring the oil on the actual dough versus too much on the bowl. But I think we're pretty incorporated now for the most part, so I'm going to do the same thing once again. This is going to be number 2. So dough number 3 is over here. So I'm watering my flour. So this is 3% oil. So once again, I'm going to start with my water. Add my yeast, my sugar, and just hydrate basically. I'm not gonna sit and wait 10 minutes to see if it activates. It's a good way to test your yeast, but you don't necessarily need to do that when you make a dough. Unless you really need a fast dough, use some hot water, a portion of it at least. Get in there. My yeast is clumping up a little bit, but it's okay. There we go. It'll mix. And then my flour. The hook. Speed 1. Salt. Do a few spins. Stop it. Help my bowl out. Now 3% oil, I'm going to try to land it on the dough more than on the bowl like I did on the last one. Still going to come together, especially if I hit it with the hook attachment. That's not all of it, but I can see I need to help this dough make the mixer actually do something here. Once again. This is a fun one. Definitely a lot of oil for this dough. This one might take like probably a minute just because of the oil on the outside of it. Definitely needs help again. But I'm comfortable calling it a day there. Basically, I just want to incorporate everything. I don't feel dry flour. Feels good. Just dough number 3. Last but not least, that dough number 4, which is 2% oil, 2% salt, no sugar. But we do have the malted flour, so keep in mind that adds to browning and everything else. So this one's just going to get, I'm going to take the hook off again. Just going to get all the water. And and the yeast. All the flour. The hook. Hopefully we don't overheat this $100 mixer here. If we do, it's on footage for you guys.
For science.
And we're getting a new one from Farberware, aka Walmart. Alright, adding more salt here. All the salt. And then mix for a minute. Help out the mixer again. A mix. Try to make it so it catches all this stuff. All right. This side. Notice I don't pour it all at once. Pour a little bit, I let it absorb. Definitely gotta help the mixer there. Be light. Not doing much of anything right there. That's a bit. Something, sorta. Sometimes also if you have a little bit of dusting flour, sometimes it doesn't hurt to throw a pinch in there like on the bowl. It'll help get that oil that's on the bowl into the dough. But I'm comfortable with that right there. This one smells like olive oil. And this will go here. And judging by how weak that mixer is, it's probably not a bad idea to move on to the first dough we did and just do it by hand. What you can also do is give it a minute or two on the hook attachment, but I think I can honestly do a better job by hand than that mixer will do without. That mixer with the paddle does a better job of incorporating everything than I can do by hand. So now that it's rested even just for a couple minutes, some gluten developed and it's nice and stretchy now, where it would have just immediately broke when I grabbed it. That's probably what, about 10, 12, maybe 15 minutes since.
Probably about 15 minutes.
About 15. And it won't need that much kneading because that rest kind of acts as kneading itself in a way. So if you ever have to do a lot of batches of dough, I would recommend doing it this way, where you just incorporate it, let it rest, and then come back and then knead it a little bit. This is almost good, I can feel it. It's also pizza dough, not bread dough, so if you get something that's looking smooth, that's pretty much when you're ready. Also, it's really hard to over knead by hand. It's really easy to over knead in a machine.
And you're not using a lot of pressure when you knead either.
I'm using a decent bit just because this is a low hydration dough, but you don't need as much as you really think. It probably looks like I'm using more. So what I did there, that's what I call building tension, is I go right here, like 3 o'clock, if this is 12 o'clock, I go 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock, but my hand's not on the table or the bottom of the dough, it's kind of hitting the bottom side of it. And once I get to 12 o'clock, I pull back, and that builds tension right there on the surface. And that, see how smooth this dough ball is getting now? It's a great way to make your dough. So you can also go hands 10 and 2 and just spin in circles. And you want it to kind of stick to your surface. It'll help you get a nice smooth dough ball. That's beautiful, and it didn't take long at all. Cover that, move on to the next one. Probably gonna move this. I gotta lift it better. So yeah, what I'm doing here, so I have one hand kind of holding the dough down. I want it to somewhat stick to the counter, but not too much. I'm giving a light pressure, coming back. Now I'm stretching that portion of the dough. Coming back a little bit farther, stretching that portion of the dough until I'm all the way here. I'm just stretching that last little portion. Then I turn it 90 degrees, and I do the same thing again. I start with the portion farthest away from me until I get to the portion closest to me. Turn it 90 degrees. Make sure you turn it the same direction 90 degrees if you want to get it even. And then at some point, it'll turn into like a denser ball because that gluten's tightened up. So that's where you just do little 90-degree turns and push like I was on the other one. So once again, I'm going from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. On the back you can see it building tension and getting smoother. Sometimes you'll be kneading your dough and you'll say, oh, it never gets nice and smooth like I see on the videos. Well, this is part of the secret. You might have already kneaded it enough, but just because it doesn't look smooth doesn't mean you're not done. Or it doesn't mean you're, yeah, exactly. So this is making the dough nice and smooth. That's done. Boom. Keep one on the top. Grab the next one. Repeat. So yeah, the part farthest away from me, roll back. Part a little closer, roll back a little closer. So I get that last little bit. Turn it 90. Repeat. You'll notice the more you do this, the gluten will tighten up. And it'll start to become, like I said, a denser ball. And that's when you're going to have to do the 90 degrees. That's done. Now we're on the last one already. That's looking good. Alright, so rules of thumb when you're making dough: a liter of water makes 10 pizzas. You can also know that a kilo of flour makes about 6, so 500 will make 3. And by pizzas I mean like 10-inch pizzas, 230 gram, 240 gram dough balls. So I can just cut this into 3, try to make it as equal as possible. Kind of just pick them up and feel it. Feels pretty good. I'm just gonna roll it like I showed you on the other video. Boom. And I'm gonna go through all of my doughs and do this. And we'll see what happens with these bad boys. Alright, so it's 9:45 p.m. on Monday. We made this dough on Friday, so it's about a 72-hour ferment. And you can see the little black spots from the yeast. It's a real nice dough. My fridge was a little cold for the most part, so it's probably more similar to a 48-hour pre-ferment. But yeah, it's pretty good on its fermentation here. Might be a little past due, but not really declining. So once again, the one labels 1% oil, 2% oil, 3% oil, and then the fourth is our control, which has no oil. And I forget, did we do 3% salt or 2%?
I think it was 2%.
Alright, I will fill you in through editing. We will look at the sheet of paper.
We'll have everything in the description.
Yeah, but 1% oil, 2% oil, 3% oil, and then no sugar. And I forget if it was 2 or 3% oil, but anyways, this is New York pizza dough, so I'm gonna make a few pizzas in a New York pizza oven. Let me get my scraper. Here we go. This is my favorite tool right here. I don't care how much of a pro you are. If you're in a restaurant, definitely have your sizes circled out on the peel. And keep in mind to make it a little bit bigger when you make it, just because when you shake it and stuff like that, it shrinks a little bit. Even when you sauce it, it can shrink a little bit. But anyway, so I got the one on top. I'm gonna throw 4 pizzas in, back to back. I'm gonna do 1% oil, 2% oil, 3% oil in the control, and cook them all off at the same time, and we can compare in real time. Like this guy right here. So you can look at it, get a good look at the dough and the fermentation going on. So this also, when it comes to a rush, it's good to do something like this. So I have floured both sides, and the smooth side that's here will start up, for New York pizza at least. I like to get a nice coat of flour because you don't need as much cornmeal or semolina later. and I'm pushing the air to the outside once again. And I'm doing a 2-step method here if you saw my stretch video. So I'm gonna go straight into stretching. And what I'm doing is my left hand's staying still, my right hand's going. And if you look at this spot right here, that's where my right hand will move to. And it feels nice. It feels like what I work with in the restaurant here. So I'm gonna slap it a little bit, but not too much. I'm just gonna leave it right here. I'm gonna put dough number 1 aside. Dough number 2. Now keep in mind I didn't use a scale when I divided these, so the size might be different, but the method is the same. Once again, 2-step. I'm going to keep everything the same. It feels just like what I use in the restaurant. That aside.
Have you explained how to peel it off the dough trays yet?
Yeah, so on the next one, I will give more in depth. It is different for New York and Neapolitana style, especially for how we do it, as our dough is long fermented and gets delicate to work with. New York pizza is a little stiffer of a dough. You're looking at anywhere from 55, like true Neapolitana, like to 62.5, 63 maybe. But you're not really going up into the 70s or anything like that with New York style pizza. You want some kind of density to it. That's number 3. And then the last one will be number 4, and I will show you how to do it. So yeah, when I go, I get the scraper in there, and I like to peel up a little bit with my hand like that, so I can get under. And as I go up, I grab it a little more and more, so I get the whole thing. So this is the one with no sugar, still has oil. Feels really good. So in terms of texture and how they feel to stretch these, I'd say they all feel pretty identical so far. They all stretch real nice. So this is gonna get some of our San Marzano sauce and fresh mozzarella, which normally in a restaurant you're gonna use shredded mozzarella. Anyway, I'm gonna go for a thin crust, but not too thin. I want to make it a nice, even pizza. And since these are all scaled differently, they'll all be different sizes a little bit. But anyway, that's what feels good. So I'm gonna give it a little scoop of sauce, so it covers it nicely. Something like that. A little mozzarella. Just keep it real simple. Once again, I shake it, make sure it moves. I come over here, and since I'm doing 4 pizzas, I'm going to do 4 spots. I'm going to start all the way over here. Like I said, I'm going back to back. That was 1% oil, just 2% oil. See, I do small circles. I drop the amount I want to use in the middle. I use small circles. A little bit more.
You could probably be a little heavier on the cheese. You got so much.
Try to make it Once again, you didn't see me sprinkle any cornmeal. Again, or semolina, whatever you prefer. They're both pretty identical. I like using wheat-based things. That's why I like semolina. Or bran is good too. Corn has enough uses, I think. So this is a 3% oil, I just did the 2%. Come back over here. So my hands are a little wet from touching the mozzarella. It's good to just get a little flour on your hands and dry them off. So as far as stretching, all of them seemed pretty good. I didn't really feel much of a difference. The sugar didn't have much of a impact on the difference of stretchiness or elasticity or extensibility, if you will. They all seem nice. Oop, I'm gonna have to go over that for a second. Now all four in, now I gotta spin them and move them. So basically, looking at the bottom, this is a 1% oil. See, it's got a little bit of coloration. What I'm doing is, this is like all top heat up here. So I'm gonna go down here where there's more bottom heat. I have the vents all open, including the bottom ones. Which, this is how it works on these. If you see, it says push in for more top heat, pull out for more bottom heat. When I open the oven, you can see those vents being open. What happens is, this flame down here will go up and around through the vents to get top heat. Where if I have them all closed, the vents, they won't go through the vents at all, they'll heat up the stone and get bottom heat. So 2% oil, it might be a little more brown, a little more browning going on. Switch to the bottom of it. These other two got a little bit before they get spun. I'm gonna go check the water real quick. Yeah, you always want to recover your dough when you're done with food. So I still got it, should still have it in the same order. 1, 2, 3, 4, perfect. Now I should be able to move these two. So 3% oil, similar, maybe a little more browning. That's no oil. It's been less time in the oven too. Keep that on the stone for a second. But yeah, part of doing your ovens is checking the pizza. Don't have a timer, 4 minutes, and then move it, because stone changes. If it hasn't been touched in a while and you've been doing other things, and then you throw your first pizza, and that stone's gonna be really hot. If you're throwing back-to-back 35, 40 pizzas, the stone is gonna cool down from all the pizzas that go on, basically. So, you just want to adjust it, you want to look at it, you want to use your eyes. Part of being a baker, part of being a pizza guy. Now, you don't want to open and close the oven way too much too, because you'll be letting heat out. So I just moved it. It's got kind of leopard spotting and a little browning going, so that's good. I'll move that to the screen once again. And we got a little bit of time. This oven's at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, this oven's at 475 degrees Fahrenheit. I let the bottom get going first, and then I finish the top. I think that's the best way to do it. If you do the bottom first, it makes it easier to move the pie. If you go for top heat first, and you have a white bottom, it's easier to rip the pie with the peel. It's a lot easier to move it when you get the bottom going first. I think that's the best way to do it. Differentiate the timeline here. But we're gonna do bagels with some of the dough too. So, getting your sheet pan. Some spray here. Just spraying it down, because bagels you boil first, and then after you boil them, you'll bake them. Looking at this, it's getting there. So that back wall is probably the hottest surface of the oven, or hottest wall of the oven. So anything that's right against that back wall is gonna get a spin. Alright, so we're making progress. Now we gotta wait. I go grab the trash. Alright, so pizza number 1 is very close to being done. It's a little softy, but that's okay. We're looking at the dough, and it's a good test to the dough too, because if you put a lot of sauce and stuff on your pizza, it's going to be more likely to be soggy on the bottom. So hopefully I didn't break that too much. We're checking out the dough right here. I use a different sauce, different cheese when I make pizza here, but I didn't want to use their product. Alright. This one looks good to me. So it's got a nice crispiness to it. The bottom, not black, not dark brown, nice brown. Now this is like what I would sell a pizza regularly at. Made it with some olive oil. Beautiful. So that, yeah, I'm happy that's 1% oil, it looks great. A little bit of oil goes a long way. This one's probably got another 30-45 seconds or so. And I'm also like, I might have put this one in after, but see, it's already done. This is our 3% oil, so I'm gonna skip a spot, put it right here. This one looks good. Oil it up.
These smell fantastic.
Oh yeah. Underneath, nice browning, nice crispy pizza. Yeah, these are technically 3 different recipes, and they're all really good. The only thing that changed in these are the oil. And this one should be ready now. Yep, it's good. 2% oil. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one. I like to let it sit.
I'd wait till you cut it so you get the 4th one out. Because that shot of all 4 would probably be pretty cool.
Yeah, true. I don't want to wait too long though.
No, for sure.
And that looks good. So, bottom, this is our control, no sugar.
Looks pretty good.
That's a great looking dough. See, without the sugar, it didn't get quite as brown as the other ones, but it still does have browning to it. All right, so you can hear that. It's nice and crispy. Look at that. It's got a nice looking crumb to it. Nice little bottom. It's a little too hot for me to want to eat just yet. Also a very nice crispy sound to that. Decent crumb.
Nice.
Kind of bready, but nice. Very crispy. Like I said, you want something dense when it comes to New York pizza. Kind of bready. It's got a nice tenderness to it with the more oil. This one is definitely a little more crispy. It's not that noticeable of a difference, but definitely there. And then our last one, still very crispy, without sugar.
And this control is 3% oil?
I believe so. It's not like a Neapolitana crumb. You want something on the denser side like that. But you can see it's got nice browning on the bottom. Hold it up, doesn't bend. Definitely nice. So I'm gonna do a taste test of this guy right here. It was a New York fold. It's absolutely piping hot. But that is a great pizza. You know, after he says one bite, everybody knows the rules. He bites it again. That's amazing. So that's 1% oil. Alright, now we move on to 2% oil. Just try it in front of me now. That's good, definitely a little more on the tender, chewy side getting there. Really good. I think so far I actually like 1% oil better.
I think the higher the oil it goes, the more it's going to be a bread consistency.
Could be right. I never did this test in my life before, so. That sausage and cheese is amazing.
Oh yeah.
%3 oil is really good too. 2% oil is amazing. I can't really. Let me give 2% oil another shot because that doesn't make sense that these two are my favorites so far. Honestly, I think 1% oil does it when you have sugar in your dough. Let's see what you think, Josh.
Let's see, of course, they are involved.
Yeah, get the point first. Hot. And then get that side piece with the bread part. You actually get the dough.
Alright. That tastes as I expected to.
Okay. 2%. No flop.
That's beautiful right there. You hear that crunch?
Oh yeah.
That's hot.
Yup. The bread part's not too bad though.
I gotta try number 1 again.
I hope you guys try for yourself and do this too, because it's all preference really. You can see they're extremely similar pizzas. What do you like, 3? Is that your favorite so far? Do you get a bread bite? 3?
Number
Okay.
1 is good, it's traditional, it's how you expect it to taste. Number 2 is more reminiscent of like a freshly made bread that you just toasted.
Yep. Yeah.
Number 3 is as you would expect it, it's just that much better.
Yeah, so that kind of goes to show that you can't just say, oh, I like oil in my dough and throw a little bit more. You might have to throw a lot more. That middle point might not be as good. So 2%, X. I love the 1% and I love the 3%, but that second opinion says 3% is the best. So now we're gonna move on to the no sugar. I'll let you have this one first. This is a no sugar, still got a nice browning on the bottom. Super crispy, New York style.
Feels great.
That just shows you don't need any sugar in your dough. The flour is malted, keep that in mind. So that acts as a sugar and has the amylase enzyme to help break down the flour sugars as well for the yeast to eat and caramelization. Compared to the rest, what do you think of the control?
I feel like compared to the other 3 versus, because 1% and 3% I agree are my favorites, so I like 3% oil better.
Yep.
But if you say you didn't want sugar, you didn't want that extra added sugar to it,
Yep.
this is just a little denser than the 3%, but they both taste identical.
So you think sugar can be optional if you have a malted flour, basically?
Yeah, because it's just that little, it tastes like that Italian bread you would expect, but it's just pizza.
All right, you got me hungry now. Let me try one.
This is fantastic, right?
All right, so. Those tomatoes and cheese are amazing too.
Oh yeah.
All around, that was a great bite of a pizza. You can actually kind of taste the oil in it.
Yeah.
Without the sugar kind of interfering. That's a complex flavor for sure.
It's delicious. It's clean. It's poofy, but it's not too airy. It's delicious.
This one?
Yeah.
I don't know. No sugar makes a pretty damn good dough. Alright, 2% again, giving it another chance. I mean, my second taste says this one's really fucking good too.
They're all delicious.
I don't know though.
That 1% is traditional, man. That's the tastes as I would expect a good pie to taste. You know, 3% makes it almost that perfect bread. And then the no sugar kills it. 2% is a good in between.
Honestly, these are all three valid New York pizza recipes. As you can see, if you know New York pizza, no, keep in mind I didn't use shredded cheese, but it's still mozzarella tomato sauce. I mean, it's Fiori latte and it's San Marzano tomatoes, so, or Chow tomatoes if you're familiar with Chow. It's Italian imported tomatoes. These all have great texture, sound. It's really, really good pizza.
This one was mine? I can't remember. I'm going to eat it anyway. I wish y'all could be here to taste this. This is absolutely fantastic.
I love my job. Alright. Honestly, it's almost interchangeable. I thought the 1% oil was fantastic. The 3% was amazing, and the 2%, after I went back to it, it was kind of equally as good as all of them. So, the difference was kind of not there too much. Control probably should have had no oil to see the difference, but I like the idea of making a pizza without sugar, making a dough without sugar, especially if you already got malt in the flour. But it's a little more cracker-like.
Yeah. It's been a solid 5 or 6 or 7 minutes since these came out the oven.
It's still warm, but...
And you can still hear that crunch every time we bite down.
Yeah. So, all three of these are phenomenal. Now we're going to move on to bagels. So,